Hi everyone, Fantasy Fencer is coming along nicely. I just put a little virtual ribbon on version 0.4, and I want to talk about the development of Fantasy Fencer a bit. What's new in version 0.4? This is the crafting update. Players can craft items, refine resources, and customize their sabers now. It's purely visual, but the systems are there. There's some other updates too, like a daily fame cap. Players can only earn 200 fame per real-life calendar day now. It resets the next day. I added some more clothes and hairstyles, and even updated the Fencer body sprite a bit. Yay! Collarbones. So let's talk about game development a bit. When I'm programming a game, I usually break the project into two main pieces, systems and content. Content is art and sound and writing and storylines, the overall theme and color palette and tone of the game. And on the other side, systems are the code machinery that makes anything happen. How do I save and load data? How do I generate and save a map? How do I make data models that can represent a giant crab? I'm trying to build games that are content heavy and not systems heavy. Think of the difference as a content heavy game being a match 3 puzzle game and a systems heavy game being a 4x strategy game. A match 3 puzzle game has some core systems like the menus, puzzle board, and scorekeeping. It's much heavier in content though, things like game pieces, UI art, animations, sound effects, and music. There doesn't have to be a lot more functionality than that for it to look and play like a match 3 game. A 4x strategy game is really systems heavy, which means the development can kind of go on forever. Think things like buildings, units, map generation, unit combat, diplomacy, research, automation for governing or unit movement. And then you build a full layer on top of that for AI players so the human player has something to play against. And if you want multiplayer, add server and client logic on that too. There might be 30 units in the game and 20 buildings, but the main gameplay focus is on using this content, and not the content itself. Systems-heavy games can go super deep into simulation, like fatigue on units, durability on equipment, or supply shortages. Well-designed systems can avoid lots of little code cases, but it's still a much, much larger undertaking. As for me, I'm focusing on making RPG or smaller management games. There's some amount of systems for players to use their stats, but overall the focus is more on art and writing. This is really fun for me because I love the creative process. Once the systems are built, I can spend so much time creating quests, enemies, items, characters, cutscenes, and lore. I love building worlds. So how is Fantasy Fencer designed? There are some core systems like combat, exploration, crafting, shop and inventory, character customization, and time-based elements. The milestone versions I'm working on roughly map to when a system is coded. The goal is to build the underlying systems so I can do a much larger content pass later on. For example, there are only 4 enemies in the game right now. Later, I want to have a lot more enemies, more map activities, and more unique things in combat like status effects. So how do we know which systems to implement? There's a couple ways. I usually do something like this. 1. Create the bare minimum for the idea to be explored in a prototype. This was the combat screen originally. 2. Add systems as required while developing. I didn't know I wanted a compendium until I felt it should be there. 3. Look forward and plan. When I know which features I want, I can start to get a mental model of what needs to be added later, like saber crafting. And 4. Guess. Honestly, just guess. It's code. We can change it anytime. Here's an example. In version 0.4, I updated how hats and shirts are stored in the game. When I first added them, they were just a string ID to the name of the sprite. Now they're an actual object since clothes can be bought in the shop. Instead of adding lots of extra logic to check if the player owns anything that maps to the name of a shirt sprite, I expanded the game's data to store the player's clothes too. Adding stuff ad hoc falls apart if you do it too often, so I try to only expand it to a data type that is self-contained and modular. Another example. I changed systems out between version 0.2 and 0.3 when I changed how exploration works. Originally, exploration was a list of locations and a screen with buttons on it. I knew I wanted to create a map, so I just dumped the old system. I had some leftover code using wrong names, so it wasn't, accurate, but that's fixable with modern tooling and a quick F2 rename press. So what's on the roadmap for Fantasy Fencer 0.5? The combat update. This one is going to take a while. I have some ideas in my original pitch on what I wanted to have in the game, but I'm also guessing a bit. I'm going to look at the enemies that are already in the game and add systems for them to be more alive and challenging for the player. Think of it like, how would an armored giant crab fight? The fencer has a saber with maybe a stain on it. Why not throw a potion? How would this work as a comic? A cool comic? How do I make that experience come to life in the game? That's sort of the motivation behind the questions I'll be asking myself while I work through the next update. I want the gameplay to be exciting and unique between different enemy types. Crabs should fight similarly, but elemental enemies and nimble enemies should not. There's even a chance I just throw out how the system is designed today. Right now it's tap only. Why not slices? This game is steering dangerously close to Fruit Ninja. I'm going to go into the HTML coding den and see what feels fun. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe, like the video, leave a comment with your thoughts, and check out my other stuff. Your support matters. Take care. See ya.